Listen to me carefully because nobody will tell you about making a man miss you. The women he misses 100 times more are the ones who disappeared from his life completely. Not temporarily, not for a few days to play hard to get, but vanished entirely. And the reason will shock you because it goes against everything you've been taught about love and relationships. I've spent years studying male psychology, and there's one pattern that appears over and over again. Men will chase for months, even years, trying to reconnect with women who became completely unreachable. These aren't the women who were perfect girlfriends, constantly available or endlessly supportive. They're the women who created such a specific emotional experience that losing it felt like losing a piece of themselves. But here's where it gets controversial. The techniques that actually make a man miss you 100 times more would be considered toxic by most relationship experts. They involve psychological principles that most dating coaches are afraid to teach because they reveal uncomfortable truths about human attraction. The reality, nice girls finish forgotten. Predictable women get replaced. And the women who follow traditional relationship advice end up wondering why he moved on so easily. That's where you've been lied to by every romance movie, every dating article, and probably every friend who told you that love means being completely available. The harsh reality, men don't miss what they can easily predict, control, or access whenever they want. They miss what challenges them, what keeps them guessing, what makes them work for emotional rewards. And if you're watching this, you're probably tired of being the woman who gives everything and gets taken for granted in return. This isn't about playing games or becoming cold. It's about understanding the psychological triggers that create genuine long-eye. Nung versus the behaviors that actually push men away. When you grasp these 11 powerful strategies, you won't be asking, why doesn't he seem to care when I'm not around? Instead, you'll become the woman whose absence creates an ache he can't ignore, whose memory haunts his quiet moments, and whose return feels like coming home. So don't scroll away, because what I'm about to reveal will completely flip your understanding of what makes someone truly irreplaceable. Let's dive into the psychology of longing and discover why some women become unforgettable while others fade into background noise. Understanding what makes someone genuinely miss you requires diving deep into the neurological and emotional mechanisms of human attachment. Missing someone isn't just about physical absence, it's about the complex interplay of brain chemistry, memory formation, and psychological needs that create powerful emotional pulls. When a man truly misses you, his brain releases a cocktail of neurochemicals that create intense emotional states. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and craving, surges when he thinks about you, creating a genuine addiction to your presence. Norepinephrine heightens his alertness and focus, making thoughts of you impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, serotonin levels fluctuate, creating emotional intensity that ranges from euphoric highs when connecting with you to anxious lows during separation. But the real magic happens in how memories are encoded and retrieved. When interactions with you are emotionally charged, unpredictable, and deeply meaningful, they create stronger neural pathways in his brain. These pathways become like emotional highways that his mind travels down repeatedly, especially during quiet moments. Every reminder triggers a cascade of sensory memories: your laugh, your scent, the way you make him feel truly seen and understood. The psychology of longing also involves what researchers call intermittent reinforcement. When rewards come unpredictably, the brain's reward system becomes hyperactivated, creating stronger attachment than constant, predictable rewards. This is why men often become more attached to women who aren't always available, who maintain some mystery, who occasionally surprise them with warmth while maintaining independence. Another crucial factor is emotional significance. When you become associated with his deepest emotional needs, security, validation, excitement, adventure, your absence creates a genuine void. It's not just that he misses your company, he misses how you make him feel about himself and his world. You become irreplaceable because you fulfill emotional needs that no one else can satisfy in quite the same way. Understanding this psychology is your roadmap to becoming unforgettable. When you know how your attachment, memory, and longing actually work, you can create the conditions where your absence becomes not just noticeable, but genuinely painful in the most beautiful way possible. The foundation of making any man miss you intensely starts with cultivating an energy that's impossible to replicate or replace. This isn't about perfecting your appearance or memorizing conversation techniques. It's about embodying a magnetic presence that combines confidence, warmth, and an elusive quality that keeps him perpetually intrigued. Magnetic feminine energy operates on frequencies that men are biologically programmed to find irresistible. It's the energy of someone who is comfortable in her own skin, who radiates contentment from within, and who invites connection without demanding it. Think of it as the difference between a candle flame that draws moths naturally versus a bright spotlight that's harsh and overwhelming. This energy is rooted in authenticity rather than performance. When you're genuinely happy, fulfilled, and at peace with yourself, that satisfaction creates an aura that people want to be near. Men are especially drawn to this because it represents emotional safety and genuine partnership rather than neediness or emotional labor. The key is learning to be fully present when you're together while maintaining your own emotional center. This means engaging wholeheartedly in conversations, showing genuine interest in his thoughts and experiences, and sharing your own authentic responses without losing yourself in the interaction. It's about bringing your full self to the connection while never abandoning your own needs or identity. Magnetic energy also involves embracing your sensuality and femininity in whatever way feels natural to you. This isn't about fitting into someone else's definition of feminine, but about expressing your own unique version of grace, warmth, and allure. Whether that's through gentle touches, expressive eyes, musical laughter, or the way you move through the world with purpose and joy. Most importantly, this energy is sustainable because it comes from self-love rather than validation seeking. When you cultivate genuine satisfaction with your own life, your presence becomes a gift rather than a need. Men feel this difference immediately, and it's what separates women they enjoy spending time with from women they absolutely cannot stop thinking about. Building magnetic energy is like developing an internal compass that always points toward your own worth and happiness. When that becomes your natural state, missing you becomes inevitable because you represent something rare and valuable that can't be found anywhere else. If there's one mistake that will instantly kill his desire to miss you, it's the desperate pursuit of constant connection and reassurance. This behavior might feel necessary when your emotions are high, but it's actually the fastest way to transform attraction into obligation and mystery into predictability. When you chase through excessive texting, frequent calls, or constant attempts to capture his attention, you create psychological pressure that triggers his natural instinct to create distance. Men's brains are wired to value autonomy and space as essential components of their emotional well-being. When that space feels threatened by overwhelming contact, their subconscious begins associating you with stress rather than pleasure, constantly seeking reassurance through questions like, "Are we okay?" or "Do you still have feelings for me?" signals emotion, all instability and insecurity. These questions force him into the position of being your emotional regulator rather than your romantic partner. Instead of missing your unique energy, he begins to feel responsible for managing your emotional state, which is exhausting and unattractive. The psychology behind why chasing pushes people away lies in the principle of emotional reciprocity. Healthy attraction thrives on balanced give and take, moments of connection followed by space for reflection and longing. When you're always the one initiating contact, you eliminate his opportunity to experience desire for your presence because you're always available. Furthermore, chasing behaviors often stem from anxiety and fear of loss, emotions that operate on entirely different frequencies than attraction and desire. When your interactions are driven by fear rather than joy, that anxious energy permeates every conversation and text, making him associate you with tension rather than pleasure. The antidote to chasing is radical self-focus. Instead of monitoring his response time or analyzing his messages for hidden meanings, pour that energy into activities that genuinely fulfill you. Take up that painting class you've been considering, plan adventures with friends, invest in your career goals. When your life becomes rich and satisfying on its own terms, the urge to chase naturally diminishes because you're no longer operating from a place of lack. Remember, attraction is magnetic, not mechanical. You can't force someone to miss you through pursuit, but you can create the conditions where missing you becomes natural and inevitable. Stop chasing and start becoming so magnificently yourself that your absence leaves a void only you can fill. The way you communicate can either create intense longing or completely extinguish romantic tension. Magnetic communication isn't about saying more or being more available. It's about mastering the delicate art of emotional impact through strategic restraint and intentional engagement. Effective communication in attraction follows the principle of emotional rhythm. Like music, the most captivating conversations have moments of intensity followed by spaces of silence, playful exchanges punctuated by deeper connections. This rhythm keeps him emotionally engaged and always wondering what's coming next. One of the most powerful techniques is learning to communicate in ways that evoke emotion rather than just exchange information. Instead of reporting the facts of your day, share the feelings and experiences that paint vivid pictures in his mind. Rather than saying, I went to the gym, try, I had the most energizing workout today. I feel absolutely alive right now. This kind of communication creates sensory memories that linger long after the conversation ends. Strategic ambiguity also plays a crucial role. Occasionally leaving conversations with intriguing hints or unfinished thoughts creates mental loops that his brain will continue processing. Phrases like, I can't wait to tell you about the most interesting thing that happened today, or you would not believe the conversation I just had, create anticipation that keeps you actively on his mind. The timing of your responses matters enormously. Matching his communication energy while occasionally creating small delays builds natural tension. If he typically responds within an hour, responding immediately every time removes the pleasant anticipation of waiting to hear from you. Occasional delays, when done without coldness or game playing, allow excitement to build. Quality over quantity should guide every interaction. One thoughtful, engaging message that shows you were really listening and thinking about him creates more impact than 10 generic check-ins. Men remember conversations that made them feel truly seen and understood far more than frequent but surface-level exchanges. Also, master the art of positive emotional anchoring. End conversations on high notes, share something that made you laugh, or express genuine appreciation for something specific about him. These positive endings create pleasant associations that his mind returns to repeatedly, strengthening his emotional connection to you. Magnetic communication is ultimately about creating experiences rather than just sharing words. When your conversations become memorable events rather than routine exchanges, you transform from someone he talks to into someone he genuinely misses talking to. One of the most counterintuitive yet powerful strategies for making someone miss you is mastering the strategic use of your presence and absence. This isn't about manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about understanding how emotional impact actually works and using space intentionally to deepen connection rather than create confusion. The human brain is wired to notice and value contrast. When something is constantly available, it becomes part of the background noise of life. But when something valuable occasionally becomes unavailable, our attention immediately focuses on what we're missing. This principle applies directly to romantic relationships and explains why constant availability often diminishes rather than increases attraction. Presence becomes exponentially more valuable when it's not guaranteed. When you show up fully engaged, emotionally present, and genuinely delighted to be there, but only when you choose to, each interaction carries more weight and significance. You become someone whose attention is precious because it's not automatically given. Strategic absence doesn't mean disappearing or becoming cold. It means living a full, engaging life that naturally creates periods when you're not available for immediate contact, when you're genuinely busy pursuing your own goals, spending time with other or important people in your life, or simply enjoying solitary activities that fulfill you. Your absence feels natural rather than calculated. The key is ensuring that your presence is always high quality. When you are together or communicating, be completely there. Put away distractions, engage with genuine interest, and bring positive energy to every interaction. This creates a stark contrast with your absence, making him acutely aware of the difference between having your attention and not having it. Timing your returns is also crucial. Come back into contact when you have something genuine to share or when you're in a particularly good mood, not when you're feeling lonely or insecure. This ensures that your presence always feels like a gift rather than a need being fulfilled. The emotional impact of strategic presence and absence creates a natural rhythm that mimics the early stages of attraction. When every interaction was meaningful because it wasn't guaranteed, you're essentially recreating the conditions under which attraction thrives: anticipation, appreciation, and the delicious uncertainty of not knowing exactly when you'll experience that connection again. Remember, the goal isn't to create anxiety or insecurity, but to maintain the natural excitement and anticipation that makes romantic connection feel special rather than routine. When mastered correctly, this balance makes your presence feel like coming home and your absence feel like missing something essential. Mystery might be the most misunderstood concept in modern dating advice. It's not about being secretive, playing games, or withholding information to manipulate someone's interest. True mystery is about maintaining layers of depth and complexity that invite ongoing discovery while staying authentic to who you are. The psychology behind why mystery creates attraction lies in how our brains process novelty and uncertainty. When we can't completely predict someone's thoughts, reactions, or next moves, our brains remain actively engaged in trying to understand them. This mental engagement creates deeper investment and interest than interactions with people who are completely predictable. Cultivating healthy mystery means revealing yourself gradually rather than all at once. Instead of sharing your entire life story, relationship history, and deepest fears in the first few conversations, allow him to discover your layers over time. Share enough to build connection and trust, but leave enough unexplored territory to maintain his curiosity about who you really are. This doesn't mean being dishonest or creating a false persona. It means being selective about what you share and when you share it. Let him discover your love for obscure poetry after he's already been drawn to your sense of humor. Allow him to stumble upon your hidden talent for cooking after he's already intrigued by your career ambition. These discoveries create delightful surprises that keep the relationship feeling fresh and exciting. Mystery also involves maintaining some independence in your thoughts and activities. Having interests, friendships, and experiences that exist separately from your relationship creates natural intrigue. When you occasionally reference experiences or people he doesn't know much about, it reminds him that you have a rich, complex life that extends beyond his immediate knowledge. The key to effective mystery is balance. Share enough vulnerability and authenticity to create genuine emotional connection, but maintain enough independence and complexity to keep things interesting. You want him to feel like he knows the real you, while simultaneously sensing that there's always more to discover. Another aspect of mystery involves being somewhat unpredictable in positive ways. If you always respond to his humor the same way, always suggest the same types of activities, or always react to situations identically, you become emotionally predictable, occasionally surprising him with a different perspective. A new interest or an unexpected reaction keeps him mentally engaged and curious about your inner world. Men, in particular, need emotional and physical space to process their feelings and maintain their sense of autonomy. When they feel overwhelmed by constant contact or emotional intensity, their natural response is to create distance. By proactively giving space, you're working with their psychology rather than against it, which creates much better outcomes. The power of space lies in what happens during periods of separation. When you're not immediately available, his mind has time to replay your conversations, remember the way you made him feel, and notice your absence. This mental processing often intensifies feelings rather than diminishing them, as long as the space doesn't extend so long that you fade from memory entirely. Creating space also demonstrates confidence and emotional security. When you can gracefully step back without becoming anxious or demanding reassurance, you show that you trust both yourself and the connection you've built. This confidence is incredibly attractive because it signals emotional maturity and independence. Space shouldn't be used as a weapon or punishment, but as a natural breathing room that allows both people to maintain their individual identities within the relationship. During times of space, focus on your own life, interests, and well-being rather than monitoring his activities or waiting for him to reach out. The key is communicating your need for space in a way that doesn't create anxiety or confusion. Let him know that you value time to focus on other aspects of your life, pursue your interests, or simply recharge, rather than disappearing without explanation or creating uncertainty about your intentions. When you return from periods of space, bring positive energy and genuine enthusiasm for reconnecting. This creates a pleasant cycle where space is followed by joyful reunion, making both the absence and presence feel valuable and meaningful. Healthy space also prevents relationships from becoming codependent or losing their spark due to overfamiliarity. When you maintain your own life, interests, and identity, you have more to bring to the relationship and remain interesting over time. Remember that the goal of space isn't to create anxiety or insecurity, but to maintain the natural excitement and appreciation that makes relationships feel special rather than routine. When space is used correctly, it intensifies connection rather than weakening it. The words you choose and how you express yourself have profound power to create lasting emotional impressions and trigger deep longing. Effective language in attraction isn't about saying more or being more available for conversation. It's about using words that evoke emotion, create vivid imagery, and establish deep psychological connections. One of the most powerful linguistic techniques is speaking in ways that engage multiple senses and emotions simultaneously. Instead of simply describing events, paint pictures with your words that allow him to experience what you experienced. Rather than saying, "I had dinner at a great restaurant," try, "I discovered this little place tonight where the candlelight made everything feel magical, and I couldn't stop thinking about how much you would love their signature dish." The language of appreciation and acknowledgement creates particularly strong emotional bonds. When you notice and verbalize specific things about him that others might overlook, you create feelings of being truly seen and valued. Comments like, "I love how your mind works," or "the way you explained that made me see everything differently," create much deeper impact than generic compliments about appearance. Using language that creates anticipation and curiosity keeps conversations alive in his mind long after they end. Phrases like, "I can't wait to share something with you," or "you're going to find this story fascinating," create mental previews that he'll think about until you continue the conversation. Emotional anchoring through language is also incredibly powerful. When you associate positive emotions with his presence through your words, you train his brain to connect thoughts of you with good feelings. Saying things like, "I always feel so at ease when I talk to you," or "you have this way of making even ordinary moments feel special," creates subconscious associations between you and positive emotional states. The timing of significant words matters enormously. Expressing deeper feelings or meaningful observations when he's emotionally receptive creates stronger memory formation. These moments typically occur during quieter, more intimate conversations rather than in busy or distracted settings. Avoid language that creates pressure or obligation. Words that imply need, dependency, or expectation can create emotional resistance. Instead, use language that expresses choice and appreciation. Rather than, "I need to see you," try, "I would love to spend time with you." Master the art of ending conversations with words that linger. Final statements like, "I'll be thinking about you," or "sweet dreams, and I hope they're wonderful," create positive associations that carry forward until your next interaction. The most effective language feels natural and authentic to your personality while being intentionally crafted to create positive emotional impact. When your words consistently make him feel good about himself and excited about connecting with you, you become someone he genuinely misses when those good feelings aren't readily available. Reclaiming and maintaining your independence. Dense while in romantic connection might be the most attractive thing you can do. Independence isn't about being distant or unavailable. It's about maintaining your own identity, goals, and happiness regardless of your relationship status. This self-sufficiency creates magnetic attraction because it demonstrates that you're choosing to be with someone rather than needing to be with them. True independence means having a fulfilling life that exists whether or not you're in a relationship. This includes pursuing your own interests, maintaining friendships, working toward personal goals, and finding satisfaction in your own company. When you're genuinely content with your own life, your presence in someone else's life feels like a bonus rather than a necessity. Many women unconsciously abandon their independence when they become interested in someone, rearranging their schedules, priorities, and even personalities to accommodate a man's preferences. This behavior, while often well-intentioned, actually reduces attraction because it eliminates the very qualities that made you interesting in the first place. Independence also means emotional self-regulation. Instead of relying on his validation, attention, or reassurance to feel good about yourself, cultivate the ability to maintain your own emotional equilibrium. This doesn't mean being cold or disconnected, but rather bringing stability and confidence to your interactions instead of neediness or anxiety. Financial independence, if possible, adds another layer of attractiveness because it demonstrates capability and self-sufficiency. When you can take care of yourself materially, it eliminates any sense that you might be interested in someone for security rather than genuine attraction. Social independence is equally important Maintaining your own friendships and social activities ensures that you don't become isolated or overly dependent on one person for all your social needs. Men find it attractive when you have a rich social life because it demonstrates that others value your company and that you're socially capable. The key to maintaining independence while building connection is learning to share your life without losing yourself in someone else's. You can be deeply interested in his thoughts, dreams, and experiences while maintaining your own thoughts, dreams, and experiences as equally important. Independence also involves setting and maintaining boundaries about what you will and won't accept in relationships. When you know your own worth and have standards for how you expect to be treated, it commands respect and admiration. People are naturally drawn to those who value themselves highly because it suggests they have something valuable to offer. Remember that independence isn't about building walls or avoiding vulnerability. It's about being whole and complete on your own so that relationships enhance your life rather than define it. When you maintain this balance, you become someone worth missing because your presence adds value without creating dependence. Perfect timing in attraction and communication can mean the difference between creating intense longing and completely missing the mark. Timing isn't just about when you send messages or when you're available. It's about understanding emotional rhythms and responding to them in ways that maximize positive impact. Understanding his natural rhythms and patterns allows you to communicate when